We've talked a good bit about strengthening state and local consultation requirements of reforming the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act and to help restore the state's partnership with the federal government. What I want to know is how important are these types of reforms, and are there other possible areas for reform that Congress should be looking at to improve the relationship or communication between the federal government and the states? And each of you can answer that, and we'll be done.
Mr. Chairman, let me begin by saying we learned a lot about ourselves during the recession between '08 and '10. And what we did was what almost every Idaho family did, is they sat around the breakfast table when the work ran out for Dad, and said, you know, what things do we, what is necessary and what is nice? To find out what is necessary, we looked to the Constitution. And the Constitution was pretty specific about an education system for the state of Idaho and other areas. And then we said, well, what is nice? If we haven't got the money for nice, we're not going to do those things anymore. And so I think at every level of government, especially when you run into a time like the Great Recession, like the recession was, that's the process that you have to go through. And even further than that, after the recession, we didn't go back to the old ways of doing things because we learned there were a lot of things that were simply not the proper role of government.
Thank you. Governor Martinez.
I completely support that. You know, having inherited the largest structural deficit in the history of our state, I have not raised a tax once. And they can call it whatever they want, revenue enhancements, whatever it may be. We've not raised a single tax, but we actually become competitive with our surrounding states, which didn't exist for a very, very long time. It was believed doing the same thing over and over again, we were going to get different results, and we didn't. We became competitive, and we've actually recruited companies and businesses to New Mexico because we're doing it different. However, now we're turning over an amazing budget. We have a surplus, we have great royalties, we have a permanent fund that's outstanding. But I hope that the next governor doesn't see it as a way to start a spending frenzy and in growing government back to where it used to be, which was absolutely unnecessary. Way too many employees to actually complete the mission of the state. And so that's what we've done, is reduce our actual government size to fit what was necessary for us to deliver the services that are required.
Thank you. Governor Herbert.
I'll just finish by saying this. You've heard me say this already, but all 435 members of the House, all 100 members of the Senate, the President should always ask the question, is this an issue, something that should be better addressed at the state level? That should be the beginning of every discussion. And there'll be differences of opinion, but many times you're going to say, you know what, that probably is going to be better and more effectively addressed at the state level. Let them take on that responsibility. We would welcome that. And I think that's a bipartisan approach, by the way, of that feeling. Thanks for hearing us today.
Well, I think our